Welcome everyone to another episode of our deep dive interviews. Today, we have the provocative and often misunderstood philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, whose ideas have challenged the foundations of Western thought. Friedrich, thank you for joining us.
The pleasure is mine. It is rare to find a stage where one can speak of such uncomfortable truths. As I once said, it is my fate to have to be the first decent human being. I know myself to be a bringer of glad tidings like no one before me. So, let us engage in this conversation without fear.
Let's begin with one of your most famous proclamations, God is dead. This statement has been widely interpreted and often misunderstood. Could you explain what you meant by this and why it's significant?
The statement, God is dead, is not a declaration of my own atheism, nor is it a celebration. It is an observation, an acknowledgement that the belief in God as the foundation of morality and meaning has lost its power. This is not something I wished for, but something I saw as inevitable. We have killed him not with malice, but with the relentless pursuit of knowledge, science, and reason. My upbringing in a religious household, my early theological studies, all of these made me acutely aware of the depth of this loss. What I feared was not the loss of faith itself, but the abyss of meaninglessness that follows. Without God, without an absolute foundation, all values become relative, and life itself seems devoid of purpose. This is what I call nihilism, and it is a crisis we must confront, not with despair, but with the courage to create new values, to become the creators of our own destiny.
That's a profound shift you're describing, a loss far greater than just religious belief. It's as if the ground beneath our feet has been pulled away. So it's not just about losing faith in a higher power, but losing the very foundation of meaning itself?
Yes, and that's the true crisis of our time. When we say, God is dead, we mean that the entire edifice of meaning built upon this belief has crumbled. The consequence is a kind of spiritual vertigo, a loss of direction, both for the individual and society. But it is in this very void, this terrifying emptiness, that we find a unique opportunity. Without the old certainties, we are compelled to look inward, to confront ourselves in the absence of a divine guide. This is where the concept of the Übermensch comes in. It is not enough to lament the death of God. We must become creators ourselves. We must forge new values, new meanings, not as a return to old comforts, but as a forward leap into the unknown.
Some might argue that advocating for self-created values could lead to moral chaos, where anything goes, even harmful actions. Isn't there a danger that without absolute values, people could misuse this freedom for destructive ends?
You misunderstand. Self-created values are not an excuse for chaos. They require a higher form of responsibility. The Übermensch does not act whimsically. He has the strength and wisdom to create values that affirm life and elevate himself. This is not a path for the weak. It's not about rejecting all morals, but about transcending simplistic notions of good and evil. He does not act out of hatred or resentment, but from a love for life and a commitment to self-mastery. Only those capable of such strength should attempt this path, for it demands more than mere rejection. It demands true self-overcoming.
Another of your provocative ideas is the concept of eternal recurrence, the thought that we must live as if we would have to repeat our lives, exactly as they are for eternity. What were you hoping people would understand from this?
Eternal recurrence is the ultimate test of how one lives. Imagine a demon coming to you and saying that this life, as you live it now, must be lived again and again for all eternity. Would you rejoice or would you despair? This thought forces one to confront their choices and their life with a radical honesty. It is the idea that we must live as if every moment will be repeated forever, that we must affirm life in its entirety, its joys and its sorrows, without regret.
It's a daunting idea. It challenges us to live without regrets and to embrace life fully, doesn't it?
Yes, it is a call to embrace the totality of existence, to say yes to life, even to its suffering. It is not about seeking perfection, but about loving one's fate, amor fati, as I called it. To live in such a way that one would want to live it again eternally. That is the highest affirmation of life. It is a test of strength, of courage, and of love for life itself.
You've often mentioned the will to power as a fundamental principle of life. Many have misunderstood this as a desire for dominance. Can you clarify what you meant by the will to power?
If you want an example of the will to power, look no further than my own life. I was never accepted by the academic community. My ideas were considered dangerous, and my works were largely ignored during my lifetime. I suffered from debilitating health issues that left me in constant pain and isolation. Yet, I did not surrender. I left my position at the university, abandoning the conventional path of success, because I could not conform to the mediocrity of what was expected of me. Instead, I devoted myself to a solitary path, writing with a feverish intensity despite my suffering, knowing that what I was creating would not be understood in my own time. I faced ridicule and rejection, but I continued to challenge the very foundations of Western thought, to bring forth a new vision of life, of humanity. I was not driven by a desire for recognition, but by the necessity to express the truths I saw, to live beyond the limits imposed by society, by illness, even by my own fears. This is the will to power, not merely to endure suffering, but to transform it into something greater, to say yes to life, even in the face of despair and isolation, and to create where others would only lament. My works were born out of this struggle, out of the chaos within me. This is why there is no other way to live but to will to power, for it is through this struggle that we give shape to ourselves and to the world.
Your ideas on overcoming nihilism and creating one's own values seem incredibly relevant today. In a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain, what advice would you give to those struggling to find meaning in such a world?
Do not seek meaning in the external world, for the world itself is indifferent. Meaning is not given, it is created. You must look within yourself, confront the chaos within, and from that chaos, give birth to your own values, your own meaning. As I wrote, "He who fights with monsters should be careful, lest he thereby become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you." Confront the abyss, but do not let it consume you. Become the creator of your own destiny.
Thank you, Friedrich Nietzsche, and thank you, viewers, for joining us. Until next time, keep questioning, keep striving, and remember, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. If you like my content, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, my viewers, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again soon.